Discourse. This is your girl Taz,
And your girl Sha.
and we're your hosts on TLD. Today's topic is on financial literacy. What is financial literacy? Financial literacy is the ability to understand and effectively use various financial skills, including personal financial management, budgeting, and investing. It is important to have financial literacy because it can help you make informed decisions about your money and avoid costly mistakes. So, Sha, let me ask you, do you feel like, does carrying a balance on your credit card help your credit? Or
I
does, let me
was
say, excuse me, let me rephrase it. Does carrying a balance on your credit card help your credit?
I was looking into that and I did see an article by Forbes magazine that stated in general it's always better to pay your credit card bill in full rather than carrying a balance. There's no meaningful benefit to your credit score to carry a balance at any time. With this in mind, it's suggested to keep your balances below 30% of your overall credit limit. So the
Right.
answer to that is no. And that was new information to me. I knew there was a certain amount you shouldn't let your balance go over in order so it would not negatively impact your credit score, but I didn't realize it was the 30%. So, for example, if somebody has a card with a $10,000 balance, excuse me, a $10,000 credit limit, they should not charge more than, say, they shouldn't go over $3,000 in charges on that particular card. So their credit score would not negatively be impacted.
Right, right. And if you have to go over that, I mean, not to the limit, but if you have to go over the 3,000 and you maybe pushed it to you 5,000, just kind of just making your payments on time, should still kind of help you, then hurt you, you know.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, in regards to credit scores, what do you think? You just mentioned one, like trying to keep the balance not too much over and paying on time. But what do you think are some things an individual can do to increase their credit score?
Um, some people will say, limit the new credit applications. And if you're gonna, apply for different credit, they were saying, once you start, you might as well go ahead and apply for, let's just say you had one in mind. Um, or two, do it because once they run your credit and it's going to be a hard pull, I think you have with up to that month to kind of run those hard pulls without not necessarily impacting. You know what I'm saying? It's not like they're gonna kind of hit you hard every time that it's being pulled. I don't know if that makes
If
sense,
it's
but
the same type of credit there that the individual is trying to get, if they do it within a certain time frame.
right, right. I think I've kind of heard that when it comes to new applications. So again, limit your credit applications, and if you're gonna do it, kind of do it within that same time frame, so you don't get too many dings. We talked
Okay.
earlier about paying off any debts. That'll kind of increase your score. A lot of times we have things that's lingering on that made our credit report. Um, some people say not to pay it off, but if you can, paying it off is not going to hurt. Not necessarily. I've heard at times where it doesn't do justice, but a lot of time when you pull those credit files and you look at the different things, they'll show you like if you pay this off, how many points it can go up. So, you know, pay off any debts. They say, build your
Okay.
credit the right way with a good mix of credit and the
Mhm.
right credits and usage, where you get the different rates and stuff. So, some people open up um, like store credit cards. You got um, gas station credit cards. You have I don't know if you call them personal credit cards, but it's just different mixtures, you know what I'm saying? Because they all are, different types of credit that you get. So that's a good thing, because everything helps build. They say pay your loans on time, which
Mhm.
we talked about a little earlier, and just not to get too close, like you mentioned. Just do not get too close to the credit limit, because again, let's just say you run into hard times, you may not be able to pay that balance back as fast as you would like, and then now you're running into late payments, and
Mhm.
it just gets out of control to the point where you may not be able to pay it off,
Right.
um just due to the interest. And another thing is, they say, just longevity. A lot of times people open up or have certain cards, and they keep it within good standing. They keep it below the what you mentioned earlier, the 30%. And that also looks really good, and that also helps build, because they take a note of how long that credit um file has been open. So, and just make sure to check your report, and make sure that you don't have things that's duplicated, because a lot of times that happen. I've noticed a lot of times where all the credit systems will have the same thing on it, and sometimes it won't. So you got to look into that. Like, okay, well, why is it showing up here, but it's not showing up there? And if it's not over here, why is it over there? So just
Mhm.
kind of like check it and to make sure things is accurate, and that can also kind of help build your score and raise your score.
Okay. And do they still report, like, when something is 30, 60, and 90 days late? Is that how they still do it?
They still show payments, and miss they still show missed payments. They're still showing whether the payment is on time. And yep, they still have that. It'll say okay. It'll show in green, and if it's not, it'll have a red. Yeah, it'll show all of that
Yeah.
still.
So
Mhm.
in reference to, I think it's important that, of course, to try to pay it on time. But if you can't pay it on time, try to pay before the 30 days. Because if you pay it before the 30 days, then it's not going to show as a late payment since they do it by the 30, at least 30 days.
Right. Yeah. Most of the cycles, and I guess depending again is the type of credit that you have. You know what I'm saying? Some, like when you think about a lot of businesses, when they're doing the credit, sometimes it's 90 days, 60 days. So
Mhm.
it just depends on what type of credit. But just for the average regular stuff, it's every month.
Mhm.
And like you said, if you're able, even if you got to break your payments up just to get to that point where if it's $100, if you got to pay $20 every week, just something to get that payment in where it won't help. And like I said, a missed payment here or there, it may or may not, but you just don't want to get consistent, because eventually it will ding. Or you don't want to get to the point where it's they've seen that the payment's been missed, and they're like, oh, we're going to have to report this. And then,
Mhm.
they say sometimes too, when you allow the credit companies to know, sometimes they'll work with you just so you don't have to get those negative marks,
Oh,
you know.
okay.
So,
That's good.
mhm. So let me ask you, Shah, should you pay down your largest debt first, or the ones with the highest interest rate? What do you think?
That's a good question. And as you know, Taz, and some of you may know, I'm an avid listener of the Dave Ramsey Show. And he suggests when you are working your way out of debt to use what they call the debt snowball method. And with that method, you do not pay attention to the highest first. You just basically list all of your debts from smallest to largest, and you know what the minimum payment is required for each of those. And you should try to find some extra money, and well, you do your budget and see what you have left over. And if you say you just have $100 left over after you do your budget for the month, you should take that $100 and plus the minimum payment of your first bill and put it towards that bill, and keep doing that each month until that bill is gone. And then when you just say the minimum payment on that first bill was $25 and you have the $100, so you take the $125 once that bill is gone and you put that towards the second bill, and plus whatever that minimum payment for that bill is. And and the reason he feels it's good to list them from smallest to largest is because you'll feel like you are accomplishing something by paying off
Mhm.
that first bill. Say the first bill was just like $300. You probably have that paid within 3 months. So that's going to make you feel a sense of accomplishment. And then you go on to the next bill. So I have used that method and it it's effective. Like most things, if you do it, it is
Mhm.
effective. But it does make you feel good to see, oh wow, that's gone. Now that's gone. Now
Right.
that's gone. So yeah, so that is I don't think you should worry about the interest rate. Just start from the smallest down to the largest.
Right. And just to kind of piggyback, well, I'm gonna say this: it really depends on the person's situation. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you kind of got to look at the interest rate because as more time goes on, the higher the bill gets. You get what I'm saying? You might have started out with owing a $300 bill, but with the interest rate and missing payments, now you're looking at an 800, a 900. You know what I'm saying? Just thinking about the
Mhm.
increase and the late fees or just whatever it is that's accumulating. Then so I guess to each his own, and however you work it, or that will work within your budget. Because hey, if you have the means to kind of start out high and you're just paying one high bill at a time, then you can work from the highest to the lowest, or like Sha said, from the lowest to the highest. you know
Mhm.
but just
Yeah.
those who may feel like the interest rate is like, what, I don't want to keep paying more and more interest, and this bill is getting higher and higher than what it was originally you know
Mm.
at, if that makes sense to those. But yeah, but like you said, smaller debts, it's to me it is easier because like you said, what sometimes $50 is a lot to many people. But if you're able to pay that and like, okay, that one is going in another $100
Mhm.
bill, or that, yeah, then like you said,
And
you
then
could
that
definitely.
that frees up some money to pay on the other bills. Once that
Right.
one is gone, you don't have the minimum payment for that bill anymore.
Right. And then
So,
like you said, you can keep keeping that same method until, which just adds on and helps you, get to the bigger thing.
mhm.
So yeah, that's
And
a good answer.
and he does suggest like for some people like just depending on what one's budget is. I think a lot of times when people write it down their expenses and how much money they have coming in and try to really stick to that budget, that will that helps them with paying off their bill because I think they will become a little bit less wasteful. But if
Right.
it's an individual that doesn't have, say, an extra $100 or $200 in their budget to put towards each bill, he suggests getting some type of part-time job to help get rid of the debt quicker.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about credit. So let's talk a little bit about investing. Let's see. What is the difference between 401k and nowadays we're hearing a lot about the Roth 401k? What's the difference between a traditional 401k account and a Roth 401k account, Taz?
Okay. From what I kind of understand, for a traditional 401, it lowers your current taxable income
Mm-hmm.
because you're funding this type of plan, which is pre-taxed, which is the contributions. And with the Roth 401k, it's like a post tax,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
which means that you're going to pay on it, now.
You pay
So,
your
I think
tax
that's
now.
right, right. And then, you don't have to worry about, when it comes down to, your retirement, that whole issue then, you having to pay your taxes and so on and so forth.
Right.
That's, to me, the real difference between those two. So it's for some may say, you know what, no, I don't want to, be bothered with the taxes. I want to see all my money. Okay. But then you got to think about it towards the end. When you're taking out the lump sum, you may say, well, I got this amount in my account. And then, but you're like, oh man, I got all these taxes. So it may be a
Mm-hmm.
little better doing it beforehand versus after. Just in my opinion.
Yeah, it's funny when I first started working, the traditional, they didn't even have the Roth 401k at that time. It was the traditional 401k, and you could do pre tax or after tax. And they would suggest that you do pre-tax because the thought process was while you're working, you're going to be making more money than when you're retired. So you're going to be
Right.
in a higher tax bracket. So go ahead and do the pre-tax. And then when you're retired and taking money out, you'll be in a lower tax bracket. But now that thought process seems like it has totally changed. And they're recommending people do the Roth 401k. But of course, check with your financial planner to see which
Right.
method would be the best method for you. So at this time, I'm doing kind of half and half. I think next year I probably just will convert over to the Roth
Right. Right.
and yeah.
And I know a little bit about the Roth, but like I said, the Roth been around, because a lot of people was using it. It just wasn't considered a 401 Roth. So, you know.
Yeah, a lot of
Mhm.
401k plans didn't have that option, the Roth option.
Right. Right, right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, like I said, it depends. Everybody, like you said, to each his own. Who wants to deal with it before or after. And that's just kind of how I would look at it. It's like, let me just get these taxes out the way, because let's just say you're planning on, like, oh, yeah, I'm going to have, just being goofy. Oh, I'm going to have 100,000 for retirement. And it's like, okay. So you thought.
Mhm. Mhm.
You didn't pay these taxes, and before you could take this money out, I need that. And now let's
Right.
just say it's $50,000 in taxes, and now you only got a 50,000 to live off. Is really,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So,
Mhm.
I think people just got to be mindful of that, And then it just makes it easy. Like even like you said, when you're working, taxes are being taken out anyway. So why not just do it then? That's something,
Mhm.
the one less thing that you got to worry about, and at least you'll know exactly what you'll have come that time.
Right.
So, let me ask you, Sha, is an IRA a good investment, and how does it differ from a 401?
An IRA, along with the 401k, both of them could be good investments. If you do your research and pick a IRA fund that is a good performing fund in your 401k, if you pick funds that are good performing funds. But a 401k is different than an IRA in that a 401k are employer sponsored investment accounts that help you save for your retirement. And IRAs are also investments accounts that help you save for retirement, but they aren't employer sponsored and can be open on your own through a financial institution. Most 401ks that I have been part of, the employer matches a certain percentage of what the employee contributes.
Right,
So some people want to at least, if their company that if their employee has a 401k, they want to at least be join the 401k and contribute at least enough to get what their company is matching. And then they may choose to um, invest elsewhere, but they want to at least get that amount that their company is matching.
right, right. Because it's in a lot of people's minds, that's free money, and if
Mhm.
somebody's going to match it, why not? That you'll be crazy, you
Right.
know,
And of
just
course,
to
with
help
the
you.
IRA, you don't have that match. So,
Right, right.
yeah.
Let me see.
So, one more question, Todd. Do you think it's better to invest in a traditional 401k account or a Roth 401k? And you kind of answered that already. You were saying that it's better to go ahead and pay the taxes now.
My opinion, no, but
Mm.
like I said, to each his own. Some people don't want to have to do that because they, want to see the full amount. But I just look at it the opposite way. I'm like, is it really the full amount when nothing was taken? Um,
Mhm.
but to answer that, like I said, it really would just depend on each person's situation and just kind of how they want to set themselves up, in the long run. But
Mhm.
our Roth 401 is better if you believe you will pay a higher tax rate in retirement than you will pay now. Because if you pay the taxes up front and withdraw the it tax free. You know what I'm saying? So it just all depends. But then when you think about the traditional 401, it's better if you believe you will pay a lower tax rate, you know,
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
retirement than if you paid now, because you gotta remember taxes differ. It
Yeah.
could, so until you withdraw it. So I don't know if that
Yeah.
makes sense, but
I would say I agree with that, and especially for someone that, say someone is just in their 20s and they're just starting out. So they got a long time for that money to grow. And if they once, and say in 40 years when they want to take the money out, if they did the Roth, they wouldn't have to worry about the taxes on 40 years of growth of money. So I think really, for definitely for someone starting out, the Roth would probably be a better option. But their
right.
financial planner should be able to tell them what's best for them.
Right. Right. And like I said, you can't, and then you gotta remember, when you think about something current, you can't really predict what it's gonna be. So you almost kind of that's a guesstimation. You're guessing that it won't be so bad, but you don't know. You know what I'm
You
saying?
don't know.
So you just have to, and that's why it's good to be diverse, and have different
Mhm.
portfolios, and
Mhm.
you got the mutual funds, you got the different stocks, the bonds, it's a lot of different things that people have to think about. The what I used to do, the what is it, EFTs or whatever. It's so many different things that people can diversify, real estate. So I think, every person really should let me say this. I think every household should be set up with a financial advisor.
Mhm.
It would be good. That should be something that is mandatory, you know, um, just for people out here that is working every day, because a lot of times people don't know a lot of these things and don't know how to make their money work for them, or know how to retire comfortably because they wasn't taught financial literacy. And it is
Mhm.
so much to that. I mean, we're just tapping a couple of questions here and there, but it's broad, you know.
Mhm.
And some of the best are their hands is in a little bit of everything. And that's why their portfolio and their monies and their returns is like skyrocket, or is on something, something that a lot of us can't fathom. And it's only because they have been educated, or they have financial advisors that tell them what to put your money in, when to
Mhm.
take your money out. And what I mean? It's almost like a map. And so most people, I think, need that. A lot of people have been reluctant throughout the years to learn this stuff themselves and do well, but it's
Mhm.
a whole group of people that are just kind of lost. And like you said earlier, Sharon, most people just only know of the 401, and there's just so many things that have changed since then. Like
Mhm.
they always
Yeah.
say, you can't keep all your eggs in one basket,
Right.
because
That's one of the key things in investing, is diversifying your portfolio. So that
right,
was a good point. Don't buy all of one stock
right,
because if something
right,
happened to that stock, then what? But if
right,
you have
right,
multiple, or mutual fund, I think it's better than the individual stocks. But if you do prefer individual stock, have different types of stocks. So if one
right.
go down, you haven't lost everything.
Right, right. You got to, because like I said, it just makes more sense,
Yeah.
versus just having, one thing, and when that goes, then it's like, oh, what do I do next? you
Mhm.
know, but a little bit of here, a little bit there, it makes all the difference.
Yeah. Yep.
And like I said, even the ETFs, to me, they're really good, because it's almost like I said, you get in a bundle of stocks, versus saying I'm only buying Coca-Cola. But if you do an ETF, you
What's
can
the
have
ETF?
it's called the exchange trade fund. It's a type of investment fund, an exchange traded product with shares that are tradable on a stock exchange. ETFs are
Hmm.
similar to mutual funds, but trade like a stock one. So, like I said again, it's like a cluster of stocks. You may get an
Okay.
ETF that may have Amazon, Coke, Pepsi. I mean, just a group. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm.
And you'll get all of that for a certain price. So, versus like you say, okay, I'm only got Coca-Cola stocks. And like you said, something happens and Coke falls, all your money is gone. But with one of the ETF, which is like I said, similar to a mutual fund, you'll have a variety of stocks built into one, and and you'll
Imma
be
have
making.
to look that up to see how it differs from a mutual fund, because mutual fund is different stocks, but
mm,
I don't
Well,
know.
just kinda how the concept of it, you know what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
it has a lot of stuff within it, you know what I'm saying? It's have a lot of different stocks within one. So,
Okay.
verse, that's the good thing. You don't have to just buy one. You can look at different ones and purchase it, and then when you look, it is like, "Okay, I purchased this for $100, but look all that came with it," you know?
Mhm.
I got
Okay.
Amazon, I have Pepsi, I have Walmart, I have, so, yeah, they've been around for a while. I used to do them a lot. But yeah, but
Okay.
stuff like that, you just keep, just stuff, like I said, that's just diversifying, is expanding it, and you just
Mhm.
keep putting it. And then too, a lot of times people do. I don't know. A lot of time, even with the dividends, sometimes people don't reinvest them. That's another way.
Yes,
Um,
that's one thing they always say to, and I guess it just depends on how much the dividends you're getting or the individual's need, but it's best to reinvest the dividends so you'll get
right,
more stock.
right, because it keeps going up. Because sometimes you may not have the money to keep applying. But what's the good thing about it now was with all this fractional shares and stuff like that, you can own stock for a penny. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Hey,
Mhm.
it may not seem like a lot, but hey, I own 1 cent worth of
Yeah.
Walmart or whatever. But that's the beauty of it now, where you don't always have to spend. I mean, think about Bitcoins, excuse me, and the stuff of that nature. Bitcoins is, wherever it is right now, I haven't been keeping track, but let's just say it's at 50,000. People look at it like, how do I get that one coin? I don't got 50,000 of just putting it for those who don't. But now people know you can get fractions. Okay, you put $100. Oh, hey, you got a share of Bitcoins. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's the good thing about a lot of this stuff now is, it's ways that you can still make money or get it or own part ownership. Same thing with the real estate. Um,
Yeah.
with the what do they call them? The rights, the
REIT,
REITs or something like that.
REIT.
REITs. Yeah. Those are good too. It's the same thing. You get a cluster of properties under one, investment. And now you own some real estate. You know what I'm saying? So it's all those different things can help broaden that portfolio, that can help secure, some financial um monies, for, as you get older, or just for emergencies or whatever. Because I remember as a kid, and I want to say this is probably when I was in middle school, so this has been a long time ago. But it's just something how when people teach you things then and you don't understand it or you don't know nothing about it, you say, "Man, had I only understood it," or if I and I mean, don't get it twisted. I was always one of those. I'm listening. If it's intriguing, my ears are there. So it's not so it
Mhm.
goes to I never forgot it. But when you don't have no one to piggyback or to push that, it's just like, okay, you heard it, you know it, but what do you do with it? But I never forget in middle school, this guy was telling us that he was into stocks and stuff like that. And he was like, "You guys, if you start putting your money in," I don't know whether he was talking about penny stocks at the time. I can't remember. He might have been talking about penny stocks, but he was just telling us how, oh, we can get in. And if we start now as children, where our money would be. And, he was telling, I think he was either a math teacher or a science teacher, but he was like, "Listen, I get checks in the mail and I'm a teacher. But when I go to my mailbox, I have checks in my mailbox. And you guys can do this too." And it's just interesting because now that you're an adult, and like I said, I was listening, I was intrigued,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
what could I do with it? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
never forgot him because I'm hearing this stuff as I get older and people are talking about it. And I'm like, "Golly, if I only had someone,
Mhm.
even if I was closer to the teacher or whatever, who knows where I would have been now." We're talking
Right.
about, you know what I'm saying? That was middle school.
Yeah.
Come on, so those are
Yes.
the things. When people hear stuff, not everything you have to jump into and invest, but be open minded, be receptive to what someone's teaching you, what's out there. And sometimes you do have to take risks. A lot of this stuff is about risk.
Mhm.
And if you don't take it, you don't know what the possibilities can be and the money that you can gain from it.
Right. Gotta do your
Um,
research to, you know, see, try to make the a educated risk, a calculated risk, you
Right.
know?
And sometimes you can't, sometimes you don't even know then. Sometimes you just
Mhm.
gotta say, you know what? I'ma try it. I'm not saying be
Yeah.
crazy to say you put your whole life savings in there, but if you don't take any risk, which a lot of people have done throughout the years and they've been very successful, you wouldn't know the heights you can reach. Well, a lot of them became millionaires, billionaires due to it. So,
Mhm.
not everything that you jump on, there's a lot of scams out there, but for the most part, these things is out here, these companies, like I like to invest in different companies, and a lot of them start on these different platforms. And they always talk about Uber started on these type of platforms where they're
Mm.
trying to raise monies and stuff like that. And if you invested a couple of dollars into it, look where you would be now, because it's a
Mhm.
success. But how would you have known had you not looked into it and read their story and what they was
Right.
trying to do? And if you were just a
Mhm.
part of it, you know, boom. This is where a lot of people were sitting pretty after Uber.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? From when it first started. And so again, that's the chance you take. Some people got money to
Mhm.
invest in like that and some people don't. But hey, what's a little bit?
And
you know?
like you were saying, Taz, talking about possibly penny stocks back then, I think one of the keys to investing is to be consistent.
Mhm.
If it doesn't have to be a large sum of money, but
Mm.
start where the individual can start and say it's $25 a month. If they
Mhm.
invest that $25 consistently each month, is going to eventually grow. And then once you do the 25, you could increase it, or $100 a month, whatever it is comfortable for that
Mhm.
individual. But if they could do it and do it consistently, I think they'll start to see their
Right.
portfolio grow.
Right. And that's key because like I said, a lot of people made money off of little money a lot of times too. There's a lot of
Mhm,
stories like that. But like you
mhm,
said, those type of things are long term. So you're paying in, you're paying in, you're paying in. And as time, your account is getting bigger and things is coming back. Like you said, now you're starting to make money off of it. It may get to the point where you don't necessarily have to keep paying into that because the dividends is paying. It just all
mhm,
depending on what you're investing in. But definitely, something beats nothing, and then when you look up, your account is sitting for a couple of thousands, a couple of hundred thousands, or tens of thousands, and you know, and you just keep going, and until you run across the right one, that'll put you at a seven figures. You know what I'm saying, or six
right.
figures. But
Mhm.
you hear that all the time. People, hey, I had hundred stocks and that tripled and doubled and wow. But how would you know if you're not taking the risk or you're not reading or staying up on some of this financial literacy out here? And it's hard, but that's why I feel like you have to get with the experts, the
Yes.
people that deal in this day in and day out. You know,
Mhm. Or maybe you have a friend that deals with it. They could, tell you about some of the basics, but like you said, get with an expert, a financial
right?
expert that can help guide you.
Right, right. Because I know one of my loved ones used to had a friend, and I'll never forget that girl's story was she was reading a book. It was a financial book, and she was sitting down on the park, and a young older man sat next to her, and he seen the book that she was reading. I can't really remember, but it was, I guess, a well known book, and it was on I guess how to grow your money or whatever it was. And the guy was intrigued once he seen the title and started, struck up a conversation with her and told her, if you're reading stuff like this, if you get with the right people, and he gave her a couple of things to do and she followed, and that kind of put her in a financial situation that she probably would have never had obtained had, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I thought that I always think about that, it's just this guy happened to see what she was reading, knew that apparently she was seeking some type of knowledge,
Mhm.
told her what to do to obtain that, and she followed his instructions. I mean, we're talking about just someone just sitting on a bench, come up,
Random.
random, random, and she followed, and it put her in a very, very, very comfortable situation.
Wow.
So, and one of the things was he told her to get a financial advisor when she could, and she did that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that financial advisor told her what stock to purchase at that time, and that was one of the stocks that took off at that time, and
Mm-mm.
would set her up really well. So,
Mm-mm-mm.
well, guys, that concludes our show for today. This is just a tip of the iceberg. It's so much stuff out there. But it's tons of information out there. I love the guys, Earn Your Leisure. I love that platform with two young men that talks about financial literacy for our people, Black Americans. They have a whole platform that is directly geared, about all of that, and they have phenomenal people on their show all the time, and they're very inspirational. So definitely check them out. Earn Your Leisure, and it's tons of people, but those are the only ones that kind of popping up in my mind right now, and they have great information. And even Anthony, what's his last name? Like O'Neill.
O'Neill.
Yeah, Anthony O'Neill is another good person. He was a part of Dave Ramsey's team, so he learned a lot as well. And he has his own platform. So those two, and what is his name of his show? I can't think of it, but you guys look up Anthony O'Neill, you should be able to find him. But he drops a lot of gems, have a lot of successful people on, as well as the guys on Earn Your Leisure. So, well, that concludes our show for today. Hopefully, you learned a few things, and I gave you two gems or um, two podcasts or shows that you can listen to on YouTube. So definitely check those guys out, and be well.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And put in the comments any general questions you may have and some investment tips you may have. And again, thank you for listening.